Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Concepts in Community Medicine, and this is Dr. Aishwarya. I have completed my MD in Community Medicine. So through this channel we have been discussing NEET PG based multiple choice questions and the related concepts in Community Medicine useful for both entrance exams as well as for professional exams. So today I have come up with a very important topic from Biostatistics. So without wasting much time, let's quickly get started with the discussion. So the question is, all of the following are true for the given image except. Options are infinite standard deviation, mean equal to median, median greater than mode, and last option is mean equal to 0 and standard deviation is equal to 1. Now, if you look at the given image, now this is a normal curve. So to understand this question and answer it correctly, you must know about the concept of normal distribution. Alright, so let's start discussing about normal distribution. Now normal distribution is also called as Gaussian distribution because it was described by a famous mathematician Carl Gauss. Alright. So normal distribution is also called as Gaussian distribution, and most of the natural phenomena are normally distributed. So it best describes the distributions of biological variations like height, weight, blood pressure, etc. And it is a type of continuous probability distribution. Now to understand what is this continuous probability distribution, you must know about the concept of random variable. So let's discuss briefly what is random variable. So random variable can be discrete and continuous. Now a discrete random variable will take up distinct or separate values. Say for example the number of heads in a coin flip, the number of students in a classroom, pulse rate are all example for discrete random variables. So anything that you can count or that doesn't have a decimal value will be a discrete random variable. So the number of students in a classroom you can actually count. You can have 10 students, 20, 30. You cannot have 30.5 students in a classroom. So that doesn't take up a decimal value. So this is a discrete random variable. So the probability distribution that is associated with a discrete random variable is called as discrete probability distribution, or also called as probability mass function. Alright. Now the probability that any random variable capital X will take up the exact value of X in a discrete probability distribution is given as P of capital X is equal to X. Now a continuous random variable will take up any value in a given interval. For example, weight, height of students. So weight of student can be 56.1 kg, it can be 56.2, it can be 56.3. So it can take up any value in a given interval. So this is a continuous random variable, and the probability distribution associated with a continuous random variable is called as continuous probability distribution, or also called as probability density function. So anything that you can measure and that takes up a decimal value will be a continuous random variable, and the probability distribution associated with it is called as a probability density function. Now the probability that any random variable capital X will take up the exact value of X in a continuous probability distribution is almost equal to 0. So we'll discuss this in the next slide. Let's understand both these distributions with an example. First is discrete. Let's take an example of number of heads if you flip a coin 5 times. So in the x-axis we have the number of heads, and in the y-axis we have the probability. Now you can get head only one time, or you can get 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, or all the 5 times if you flip a coin 5 times, right? But you have to get any one of these values. So you have 100% chance of getting any one of these values. So the total probability will be equal to 1. So if you sum up all these probabilities, your total probability will be equal to 1. So this is about discrete probability distribution. Now next is continuous probability distribution. We are taking an example of weight of the students in a classroom. So in the x-axis we have weight, and in the y-axis we have the probability. So since it is continuous probability distribution, it can take up any value in this interval. Within this range, it can take up any value. So the total probability will be the total area under this curve. Okay. So the total area under this curve will give you the total probability. So you have 100% chance of getting any one value under this curve. So the total probability or the total area under the curve will be equal to 1 or 100%. Now let's understand with an example. Now let's say the probability of the random variable capital X is greater than or equal to 40, less than or equal to 50. It means that they are talking about this area which is greater than 40 and less than 50. So they are talking about this area. So if you calculate the area, you can find out the probability in this range. Now let's take another example. Probability of the random variable capital X equal to 40.5. So 40.5 is here. Alright. So 40.5 is here. Okay. So they are talking about the area of this line. So this is just a line. It has got no width, no area. So that is why the probability of a random variable with the exact value of X, with the exact value of 40.5 is always equal to 0, because we are taking the area under the curve for calculating the probability in continuous probability distribution. Here the value is exactly equal to 40.5. This line is not having any width, so there is no area. That is why always the probability of capital X with the exact value of X in a continuous probability distribution is equal to 0. Whereas in a discrete probability distribution, the probability is given as capital X is equal to X, because you can calculate the probability for an exact value of X. Say for example, probability if your random variable is exactly equal to 3, you can still calculate the probability in a discrete probability distribution. Hope you are getting it right. Now that you have understood that normal distribution is a type of continuous probability distribution, let's understand further about normal distribution. Now the shape of the normal curve is given by, or it is determined by, the mean and the standard deviation. Mean is given as mu and standard deviation is sigma. Mean is this central part, and we have 50% of observations on either side of the mean. And the baseline of the normal curve, we have the standard deviation units. So if the standard deviation is less, the curve will be narrow. And if the standard deviation is more, the curve will be wider. So that is why the shape of the curve is determined by the mean and the standard deviation. So in a normal distribution, the mean, median, and the mode, all the three coincide. They are all equal. The probability that an observation will fall within one standard deviation. Okay, so observation will fall within one standard deviation from the mean is 68%. And the probability that an observation will fall within two standard deviation from the mean is 95%. And the probability that an observation will fall within three standard deviation from the mean is 99%. So let's discuss the properties of a normal curve. So we already know that it is continuous. It is bilaterally symmetrical. So this is the mean, and we have 50% of the observations on either side of the mean. So both the sides are equal. It is bilaterally symmetrical, and the curve is a smooth bell-shaped curve. Mean, median, and the mode. Okay, mean, median, and the mode, they all coincide. They are all equal. And it is unimodal. So the central part is convex. We have two inflections, and the two lines, they do not touch the baseline because it is based on infinite number of observations. The two lines do not touch the baseline. Now just a few words about the standard normal curve. So now that you have know that in a normal distribution, it can take up any value as mean and standard deviation. Okay. So normal distribution can have any value as mean and standard deviation, but if you standardize this normal distribution, it is a standard normal distribution. It will have fixed mean and standard deviation. Mean is 0 and standard deviation will be equal to 1. Why? Because this will allow you to compare between different data sets with different mean and standard deviation. Also, it will help you to know how many standard deviations away from the mean a particular individual value is. So just like in normal distribution, you have the x as the data points. In standard normal distribution, you have the z-scores. Okay, so this z-score is also called as the critical ratio or the relative deviate. Okay, critical ratio or the relative deviate, it helps you to know how many standard deviations away from the mean a particular individual value is. So it is calculated as the individual value or the random variable minus the mean divided by the standard deviation. So z-score can be positive, it can be negative. Alright. So it can be positive, it can be negative. If it is positive, the value is above the mean. If it is negative, it is below the mean. If it is 0, it is almost equal to the mean. Now let's take an example. Suppose your individual value, the random variable is going to be 15. Mean is going to be 13.5 and sigma, that is standard deviation, is 1.5. And the z-score will be 15 minus 13.5 divided by 1.5, which is equal to 1. Now z-score is 1, so it is positive. It is definitely above the mean. Now once you have got these z-scores in a standard normal distribution, all the raw value or the raw data, okay, individual value will be replaced by the z-scores. And the curve will be drawn by plotting these scores, and this curve will be almost similar to the normal curve, and this is called as the standard normal curve. So this is also a smooth bell-shaped curve which is bilaterally symmetrical, and the two lines do not touch the baseline because it is based on infinite number of observations. The mean will always be equal to 0 and standard deviation is equal to 1. So this is all about the standard normal curve. Now I hope that you must have got enough information on normal distribution. Let's come back to the question. All of the following are true for the given image except. So look into the image. It is clearly a normal curve because it is smooth bell-shaped bilaterally symmetrical curve. So it is normal curve. And the question is about normal distribution. Now let's look into the options. Option A, infinite standard deviation. Yes, it is correct because normal distribution is based on infinite observations. Those two lines never meet the baseline. So it is based on infinite observations. So option A is correct. Option B, mean is equal to median. So always in a normal distribution, mean is equal to median is equal to mode. So all the three are equal, they coincide. So option B is correct. Option C, median greater than mode. No, it is incorrect because all the three are equal and they coincide. Option D, mean is equal to 0 and standard deviation is equal to 1. So if in a normal distribution, if mean is equal to 0, we have 50% observations on either side of the mean, which means 0.5 standard deviation on either side of the mean. So total standard deviation will be equal to 1. So if mean is 0, standard deviation is equal to 1 in a normal distribution. So option D is also correct. So answer to this question is option C, median greater than mode. So with this, I'll conclude the discussion on normal distribution. If you find these videos interesting and useful, please do consider subscribing to my channel and comment below for more such videos. Thank you.